Hey Vault Hunters, welcome back to Pandora, the land where the skags are almost as numerous as the guns. Gearbox's second Borderlands game introduces players to 4 new classes and sets them loose in a myriad of new environments. So will Borderlands 2 satisfy fans of the original, or will it collapse like a bandit with a face full of sniper rifle? Let's find out.
It's a new torture dolls, boys! Let's turn up the heat!
Right away, players will notice that Borderlands 2 has learned from its predecessor. Behold the mini-map! Yes, finally, players can navigate around the world of Pandora without stopping to look at the map.
Well, that's some good news.
Another area where the sequel improves over the previous game is enemy diversity. You're still going to see the same bad guys in some areas, but there's a lot more enemy types than the first game, that's for sure. So, this time around you have your choice of 4 new classes, which are revamped versions of the classes you're used to. Zero uses sniper rifles, kind of like Mordecai. Maya is a siren like Lilith, but with new powers. You get the idea. These new classes are cool, but I can't help feel like the game could have used a few more completely new classes. I mean, I know there's the Necromancer coming out on October 16th, but I was honestly kind of hoping the game would launch with more class options. So let's talk story. After the events of the first game, a new resource called Iridium has been created on Pandora, and there's rumors of a second vault that will imbue its finder with mysterious and unimaginable power. Naturally, this has attracted the attention of the evil Hyperion Corporation and its equally evil president, Handsome Jack. And I've got to give major points to Gearbox for creating this douchebag. He is the best video game villain I've seen in a long time, and his trash talking throughout the game is definitely one of the highlights of Borderlands 2.
How's your day been, buddy? We haven't really talked much since I left you for dead. Hey, you think you'll freeze to death out there? No, probably not. Bandits will get you first. My day? Been pretty good. Just bought a pony made of diamonds. Yeah, because I'm rich. So, you know, that's cool. Goodbye.
Bitch!
In fact, all of the characters in Borderlands 2 are well written and have some exceptional voice acting backing up the dialogue. The colorful people you meet in Borderlands are always entertaining, and they'll provide you with some laugh out loud moments during the missions.
I'm so sick of coming up with names for, you know what? Boner farts. All of them. That's right, we're calling them boner farts now. Just kill a few of them or something, I don't care anymore.
You'll also get to meet the original Vault Hunters from the first game, so you finally see some of the personalities of the people you spent all of Borderlands 1 playing. But my favorite returning cast member has to be Claptrap.
But my friends call me Claptrap. Or they would if any of them were still alive, or had existed in the first place.
He plays his role as the annoying comic relief perfectly. It's like if Jar Jar Binks were actually funny, and you got to do horrible things to him.
So don't do that. I'm just standing here to show you the area you should...
Alright, let's move on to the gameplay. Once again, it's fast, furious, and at times, incredibly frustrating. If your enemies get a few levels ahead of you, they will proceed to stomp your face in. So, if you try to play through the entire game doing only main story missions, you're gonna have a bad time. My advice is to take some time to do the optional side quests and level up your character a little bit. The devs have done a great job of creating varied missions so they don't all feel like fetch quests. And exploring the different areas is a huge part of what makes this game fun. Much like the original Borderlands, this game is much better when playing with friends. They've added in a trade window and a duel function, which I enjoyed immensely because it let me pwn Sohinki in the face.
Suck on that one!
But what would have been really cool would be if they made it so that you could combine your character's powers. Like, if the Siren phase locks someone, Zero can run up and initiate a multi-slash by activating his special ability. That would have been awesome. Well, maybe in Borderlands 3. As far as combat goes, it's pretty good. There does seem to be a problem with Zero's hit detection when he's trying to break stealth with a melee attack. It seems like he's missing enemies right in front of him, and the aiming seems to be a little bit jerky in general, and it can make lining up a headshot a little difficult. However, it's worth noting that I was playing this on the Xbox 360, and I'm sure on the PC this isn't even an issue. So, the 4 different heroes play drastically different, and deciding where to strategically deploy your shield turret as a commando gives the game a completely different feel from, say, playing as Zero and deciding when to stealth up behind your opponent. Aside from a few minor complaints though, I do enjoy the combat and the game does a good job of presenting you with enemies that force you to use different weapons and tactics. For example, you could have a fire weapon that's been wrecking face against bandits, but the game will throw some robots at you that shrug off fire weapons and force you to switch to something else, something corrosive maybe. Or they'll send out this annoying guy that reflects bullets and makes you remember you have grenades. It's good that the game forces you to use different weapons because otherwise the combat would become stale very quickly. The art style of Borderlands has always been appealing. I like the cel-shaded look and it really fits with the over-and-top environment that Pandora creates. And now we finally get to see some areas that aren't just desert. Now don't get me wrong, I liked Borderlands 1, but after a while I started to wonder if maybe the game developers lived in the Sahara and had never seen environments that weren't wastelands. But in Borderlands 2 you've got icelands and jungle areas and weird slime pits, and of course there are still plenty of deserts. The character animations are pretty good, especially when mutating. I feel like the game might have benefited from some cooler death animations though. Maybe they could have done something incredibly violent for melee kills, kind of like Killzone 3 did. I feel like that type of gratuitous violence would have worked well in the world of Borderlands. But watching enemies burn to death and explode is cool too, I suppose. Let's take a moment to review the feature that brought so many fans to the original Borderlands game, the loot. Never before had players seen such an abundance of rocket launchers, shotguns, and assault rifles. You'll be happy to know that there are even more guns in Borderlands 2. However, this does raise a few issues for me. I've always been annoyed by loot-based games because I don't like stopping in the middle of a mission to see if the shotgun the guy dropped on the ground is better than mine. So I've got to multiply the fire rate by the damage, and don't forget to factor in the multiplier to get it. I fucking hate math. I just want to blow stuff up. This wouldn't be so much of a problem if I had a ton of room in my backpack so I could try guns out at my leisure. But when you consider the sheer amount of weapons, relics, and grenade mods available, the moderate amount of space in your backpack isn't really enough. Sure, you can buy more space using Iridium, but I need that Iridium to buy extra rocket launcher space, because once again, I like blowing stuff up. But this comment is really more of a critique on loot-based games in general than a specific Borderlands 2 problem. Perhaps in Borderlands 3 they could have some sort of courier that takes my loot back to Sanctuary so I can check it out later.
Or better yet, make Claptrap do it. That's right, I want a Claptrap courier function. That way I can shoot him if he's not going fast enough.
Alright, so Borderlands 2 has some ups and downs, but the bottom line is that the ups far outweigh the downs. An amazing story, diverse skill trees, memorable, hilarious characters, and well-written dialogue make this game stand apart from its peers. Add in badass, pulse-pounding combat, and you've got a recipe for an amazing loot shooter. Yeah, the hit detection could use a little work, and I wouldn't mind some cooler death animations and maybe a Claptrap courier function, but these are minor details, things to think about for Borderlands 3. Because when you come right down to it, this franchise has found its stride and definitely deserves a sequel, or a prequel, or whatever the guys over at Gearbox want to do. You've got me hooked, and I want to know what happens next on Pandora. Borderlands 2 gets a 9 out of 10, and I look forward to what comes next. For all things video games, be sure to keep it locked right here to Smosh Games.